This is Laricy Live, and I'm your host, Matt Laricy, giving you unfiltered access to the world of real estate. We cover market trends, news, and give you the honest answers that will keep you ahead of the real estate game. Okay, so today we are talking about some things that are going to be happening in the new year, and we have a lot of sellers reaching out to us, asking a lot of different questions about what are some of the best things to do when you're selling in 2022. So what this is going to be is a nice kind of suggestion and answer some of your questions if you're thinking about selling, this year and as we ramp into 2022. Some great ideas for all of you sellers out there. So let's call this the 2022 Seller's Guide. So these questions come from our marketing people, some people, sellers that have reached out to us, just in general, the questions that we've been getting. We've kind of put them down here. So we'll just kind of read these off. Best strategies for selling next year. I think the first 2 quarters are going to be the best quarters of the year. So if you're thinking about selling, I would say that the best idea to think about is getting it on the market first. Think about it like Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last. And I think the people are going to come out of the gates swinging, especially with us being tied to these rent markets. And I think we need to think about being one of the first people on to try to take advantage of that lower inventory levels that I expect to happen in that first quarter. What will market time look like next year? I think it's going to be down for the most part. We average around 90-ish days for the majority part of the downtown markets, and that's including like Wicker and Lincoln Park and stuff like that. Of course, it matters what you're selling. You're selling a single-family home. I mean, it was drastically lower than that. If you're selling a high-rise condo in the heart of the loop, it's drastically higher than that. But I do think the market time is going to be much different, and I do think I think market time is going to matter more. I think for the last 2 years, people haven't cared about market time, but I think now we're going to start seeing people care about the market time again. How will the condo market perform in 2022? As of now, I think the condo market's going to perform extremely well. I'm calling 2022 the year of the condo. I think it's the year condo sales come back. But then again, guys, we are in a weird time, so we could get in some sort of lockdown or something crazy can happen, and all my thoughts go to the wayside. But I think as of now, we can fully expect a more balanced to slight edge to buyers for condos in 2022 rather than having such a hardcore buyer's market like we've seen. If you want to sell your condo in 2022, what's your best advice? Have it look as move-in ready as possible. Make sure you have furniture in there. Do not have a vacant unit. I think that's not good. And list it in the first 2 quarters. That's the best quick advice I could give you. What can you expect for pricing next year? I think pricing is going to be up. I don't think it's going to be like a gangbuster up, but I think if you're selling a condo, it'll be up maybe 1% to 2%. If you're selling a single family home, anywhere from 2% to 5%. If you have a good condo with roof deck and stuff like that, you're probably looking at like a 2% to 5% growth as well. So, bigger units with more outdoor space are going to perform better than condos in the heart of the city, but I still think condos in the heart of the city are going to start to make a comeback. Do you expect to see a lot of multiple bids? I do. I think we're going to see a lot of multiple bids in the first 2 quarters. I think that we're going to see lower inventory levels at the end of 2021. I've heard a lot of people talk about they're not seeing what they want to buy, and there's a lot of people out there that feeling this way, which means that as this inventory hits in the start of 2022 here, we're going to start seeing a lot more bids happen. Do you expect to sell listings over ask price? Sure, in the first 2 quarters I do. October of 2022, I don't think we're going to be selling most of our listings over ask price, but I do think we're going to see more multiple bids in 22 than we did in 21. Are there certain neighborhoods that will get higher premiums? Yeah, I still think the Wicker Park, Westtown, Bucktown, Lincoln Park, and Lakeview are going to perform better than like your River North and the Loops. But I do think that let's say like the West Loop and River North, which has been kind of lagging the last couple of years, I think are going to start to perform a little bit better than they have. When's the best time to list? I'd say end of January. Chicago's the most rent-heavy city in the country per capita. Most people's leases come due end of March, April, May, first part of June. So a lot of these people have to give their building 60-day notice. So if you have to buy a place and your lease is up April 1st, you have to make that decision by February 1st, which means people are going to really start moving. So I would say maybe even like mid-January. You want to come out of the gates and be in front of people's faces and try to take advantage of the lower inventory, because the average consumer thinks the best time on the list is April and May. So you could beat them to the punch. Are sellers still moving to the suburbs? Yes. We're still seeing a lot of people move to the suburbs, not only because of the COVID situation, but also the crime. And the crime's been weighing down the market as well. Why are most of your sellers listing? I think it's your normal thing. People are outgrowing their spaces. They have kids. People working from home right now more. The crime, like we talked about. Those are your main reasons why people are listing. How long will it take to sell my place? Depends on what you're selling. Depends on what you're selling and where you're selling. If you're listing after the first of the year and you got a 2-bed, 2-bath condo with big outdoor space in Lincoln Park, I'd expect to sell within 30 days or less, maybe even 2 weeks. Got a single family home that's move-in ready and like tier A type of location, probably sell in a week or two. If you got a high-rise condo in the heart of the loop, you're probably looking at 120 days. So again, it's all relative to how you price it, how it looks, how much inventory is on the market. But the best way to do it, to actually have an accurate information of how quick you think your property can sell is, consult your agent, myself, and I could give you a rundown on what to expect. Should sellers do updates before listing their home? So people do want more move-in ready properties, turnkey, especially with labor and everything being through the roof. So I think it would be more beneficial for you to do it. But I also think that it's subjective to your particular property. You don't want to spend $10,000 and get $1,000 back. So I think it's a case-by-case basis. Generally speaking, it would be better. Are open houses still happening? Yeah. Open houses are back. There's no restrictions on that anymore. What will the market time look like for different types of properties? So heart of the city, you're going to see like 120 plus market time. But we're talking by the end of the year, okay? Like not first part of the year, but like all things are said and done, I think you're going to still see like maybe 120 market day for the heart of the city. And you're going to see like maybe like a 90-ish on the outskirts, like the Lincoln Park, Lakeview areas. And I think for single family homes, we'll probably be hovering around like 30 days. But again, as I said earlier, I'm hoping that goes down. I would love to see 90 in the heart, 60 in the outskirt parts, and 2 weeks in the single family homes. But it's kind of hard to tell because there's just a lot of different variants going on. But I think we can expect lower market time. Will Q1 look like it did in 2021? I think it'll be stronger. I think it's going to be much stronger. We haven't seen the first-time buyer market, which is completely coming back. You have to realize that rents in the fall of last year of 21 were 20% lower than history. Today, they're 5% higher than history. So if we do 20 plus 5, that's a 25% swing. And all these people who came back to the city last year took advantage of these COVID deals they got. And then they decided like, hey, I don't want to rent anymore. And it's actually cheaper for me to buy than it is to rent. And those people are going to be buying. And that first-time buyer market almost was non-existent in Q1 of 21. And I think that first-time buyer market is going to be one of the biggest driving forces in 2022. And that's one of my main fuels behind my reasoning of saying that 2022 is going to be the year of the condo. How will crime impact sales? Depends on how bad it gets. If it keeps going the way it's going to go, sales are going to dry up. If things change, the market will get better. And I do believe that there's enough people out there that are upset about this and it will change. But if it does keep getting worse, then the market's going to get worse. How will COVID and the new variants impact sales? I think we're kind of done with COVID having a drastic impact on the market unless something like absolutely crazy happens. But I think at this point, people just realize this is how life's going to be, and you just have to adjust to it. And I think people are not over the disease in the sense that they don't respect it. I think they're over the fact of being like scared of like, hey, their life may be disrupted in a way. If there are more shutdowns, what will happen in listings? Well, of course, if we go in a complete shutdown, most bigger buildings have restrictions of letting people in, so it's going to drastically impact the bigger buildings. The little buildings and single-family homes will probably perform much better because the bigger buildings are going to be performing much worse. Are people returning to work? We are seeing more and more people go onto the hybrid model. As people transition to the hybrid model, people are going to start realizing how much they like seeing other people more, and they're going to want to go into the office more, and they're going to see how much more productive they are. And then as they go into the office more and they get more FOMO of not being in the office, they're going to want to go to office full time, and then other people are going to want to start to do that, and that's going to act like a domino effect. We're going to see more and more people go back to the office. how will working from home impact sales? I think working from home, although some jobs may go remote forever, I'm still not buying that Kool-Aid that we're going to be working from home for the rest of our lives. I think offices will come back. You're seeing other big cities office space leasings go through the roof. So I actually think that this fad of the working from home won't go away in 2022. I don't think it's going to go away in 2023, but I do think by 2024 it'll be a thing of the past that people will talk about. Does Laricy charge a marketing fee? Nope, we do not charge any marketing fees. We don't have any hidden fees. Everything's included into our commission. You only pay us if you close, and we have a cancel anytime policy. Are you still doing drones and Matterports for all properties? Yep, we do full marketing package. It's a little bit more, well, it's a lot more extensive than that, but those are just some of the stuff that we add in there. What new marketing strategies are you starting to take in 2022? We're going to start doing more Reels and TikTok ads for our listings. Those have been like super popular, so we're trying to get more involved with boosting ads into that realm and making those a little bit more like clickbaity. From what we've tested out on them, they've performed very well. So, we're always trying to think outside the box what we can do to try to sell more listings. It's not just about putting on the MLS anymore. It's about putting on like a billion other sites and all the social sites. So, it is kind of like the more exposure you get, the better your odds of selling too. Do open houses drive a lot of traffic? First week, in the first like 2 quarters, if you don't do any showings for like that first week and do all your showings on like a Saturday or Sunday between like a 90-minute period, you crush it. But after that, generally speaking, it's people who are just kind of like tire kickers. I've personally never sold a property in an open house after the first week on the market, but it is a good way to get more online exposure. So they're still worth doing for that, but I wouldn't expect to, if you're not on the market for the first week, I wouldn't expect that you're going to sell your house because you didn't open after the first week on the market. Our property selling before they hit the market? Yeah. Big time. A lot of stuff sells in the pockets. I personally wouldn't suggest putting your property in the pockets in the first 2 quarters, depending on your property. If you got, under $1 million property, that's kind of like, your general property in the sense it's not super unique, it's not a hard price, and you don't care about showings, then I'd get it on the market. If you're afraid of showings or you're afraid of COVID or you're afraid of people coming through the house, and I'd put it in the pockets. But there's a lot of people out there that are going to try to tell you that the exclusivity is going to sell it more. But I'll tell you right now, in 2022, you got a 2-bed, 2-bath in Lincoln Park that's $450,000. Yeah, you could sell that in the pockets for maybe $455, and maybe if you want in the open market, you might get $470 for it. I think a lot of people are going to leave some money on the table that only sell in the pockets if you have a property like that. Let's see here. How much inventory will there be in 22? I think there's going to be less inventory in 22 than there was in 21. I think we're going to see the inventory roll off the market much quicker too, especially with the rental market being so strong. So I think a lot of people are going to continue to rent their properties out rather than sell. Whereas in 21, a lot of people couldn't rent it out, so they sold it, or at least tried to sell. So I think we're going to see a lot less inventory, and we're going to see a lot more demand, and that's going to lead to more multiple bids and a stronger market for sellers. Again, for 50% of the market, it's still going to be a buyer's market. For Westtown, West Wicker Park, Bucktown, Lincoln Park, Lakeview, and all of single-family homes, it's going to be a seller's market. Everything else, balanced to slight edge to buyers. What are the best chances of getting your property sold for list price? Having it show well. That's huge. Make sure your property shows well. Price it right. Make sure you're priced right. I like to price it at directly at market or a teeny tiny bit below market value in the spring, because that's when you have the most demand, and everybody loves a good deal. And if you're priced right, you'll sell it for at least ask, if not over ask. The biggest problem is a lot of sellers are their own worst enemies, and they list it very, very high, and then they do the death by 1,000 cuts, and they cut, and then you end up selling it for less than market value, because then the consumer's like, what's wrong with that place? It's been on the market forever, and they keep doing price cuts. So best thing you do in the spring is price it right. And then let's see here. How do you determine pricing on your listings? I look at everything. I look at, because 20 and 21 were so weird, I go back 24 months and I look at what the trends were. And I don't just look at what's sold, okay, but I also look at what came on the market and didn't sell. So if a lot of people just point to this closed for this and this closed for this, I'm like, okay, well, those two closed, but there was 15 properties that were the same that came on and didn't sell. So you had 2 out of 17 properties that sold, right? So the reality is you have to look at all aspects. And I did a huge podcast talking about just comps, and I highly suggest you listen to that about how I price things. But I will tell you, You need to look at all aspects of how long things were on the market, how many properties that were like yours that came on the market and didn't sell, what was the market time, what was the price it took for those properties that did sell, and then how long did it take at that current price to sell. So there's a lot of factors that I do. And when I talk to sellers about listing, I mean, I always tell people I'm in sales. Like, I know exactly what you want to hear to get the listing. Like, I walk in there, I'd be like, I know the number that this person wants. I ask my sellers, I'm like, what do you want for the property? And they say X. I'm like, I knew you wanted that. Now, I could be a salesperson, a scumbag, and be like, yeah, I know, let's list it at this. And in the back of my mind, no, that's not what it's worth. I always tell people, like, here's the numbers, here's the facts, here's the data, and why it should be priced at this. I can't change the numbers as much. I mean, listen, I want to sell everything at $1 million plus too, because I make more money. But at the end of the day, we have to be realistic on the expectations. And I set the right expectations. And a lot of times we don't get listings because we don't set the right because we set the right expectations, and people only want to hear what they want to hear. So I think it's super duper important to be realistic with where things should be priced at. How often do you communicate with your sellers? I communicate a minimum of twice a week with every seller I have. A minimum of twice a week. It's a ridiculous amount of work to communicate with them that much, but that's minimum. Now, if we have showings, we communicate with them at least twice, because we give them immediate feedback, and then we have formal feedback that comes out. But we're pretty much I have a lot of sellers that tell me, like, you do not need to reach out to me this much. And I tell people I have to, because I don't ever want you to say that I didn't reach out to you, and here's a physical proof of how many times I have reached out to you. How do you think Michigan Avenue area properties perform next year? I think they'll be better than they were in years past, but I still think that it's still going to be struggling. Until Michigan Avenue itself comes back and people have more confidence and there's less smash and grabs on Michigan Avenue, the market's going to perform, pretty tough there. I mean, in 2018, to say that you lived on Michigan Avenue, that was a bragging piece. Nowadays, if you live on Michigan Avenue, it's not as much a bragging piece as people are like a little bit more nervous. So it's just something to kind of to think about a little bit here. Any benefits of selling with Redfin versus an agent? I mean, there's different types of property companies out there. I'm not going to talk foully about any company. I think you should interview a few different companies and see what works best for your personality. How does your team coordinate showing requests and showings? I mean, we have a full-time showing assistant that just solely does showings, and we have a team, so we could pretty much accommodate any time, any day of the week. And then we also, on top of that, we text every seller we have immediately after every showing to update them on how the showing went. So we're about as communicative as you could get with showings and stuff. What kinds of design upgrades are buyers looking for? Kitchens. They want white kitchens, quartz countertops, subway tile backsplash, oversized white or gray tile in the bathrooms, nice luxurious showers, quartz in the bathrooms, things of that nature. Belgian white oak flooring, that's been popular lately. So, I mean, there's certain color palettes, golds are coming back, navies, blues, grays, things of that color palettes are kind of everything that's kind of trending right now. Is it worth doing any interior design work to your home before listing? Places that show better sell better. So, yeah, I think it's definitely better if you try to have somebody come in and give you some advice. That's something we do a lot for our clients, is that we have somebody kind of walk the property for them and tell them like what to do, what colors to pick out, how to make it look better. But the better your property could look, the better your odds are of selling. Is it worth doing any interior, or how does Laricy staging services work? We partner with a staging company that will come to your house and give you staging advice and stage your property, and we could take care of getting them in and out of the property. Is it worth doing a pocket listing before hitting the market? I don't think so. Not in the first couple quarters. But of course, if you have a unique property, you want to go way too high in price, or it's just like something that is, we don't know how to price it because it's so unique, then yeah, I think it's worth it. But again, majority of properties, let's say 90+% of properties in the first 2 quarters, it's sales, guys. It's a numbers game. The more people who see it, the better your odds of selling. Now, you're going to hear a lot of people tell me I'm an idiot for this, and they disagree with me. And there's a lot of huge agents out there that they say that their best strategies are putting in the pockets. But I can't disagree more, because I'll tell you right now, the fact that somebody's going to tell me that you would sell a 2-bed, 2-bath for $500,000 for more money, and that person wouldn't buy it if it hit the open market. So you're going to tell me that, hey, I'll buy it for $500,000 in the pockets, but it hit the open market, so I'm not going to buy it now because now it's on the open market. There's no way you're going to sell me that. I'm not buying that. I'm not dumb enough to believe that argument. that same person's going to buy it if it hits the open market. And guess what? So are 6 billion other people, because that's how many other people have the opportunity to be able to see it rather than a few hundred in the pockets. So again, 90% of places I would suggest going on the market for the first 2 quarters. Now, I have a completely different argument if we're in Q4 or holiday season, but this is all relative for this, and for the first couple of quarters, I'd say we get it going. What happens if my property hits a best and final offer situation? It's not always about price. I mean, although most people will say it's about price, but I mean, I think there's intangibles too, like, when the close date is, what the percentage down is, are they taking it as is, who their agent is. There's a lot of times where we'll get a better offer, but the odds to close aren't as high. Like, I look at every single factor, and then I advise my clients on, like, this is our best situation to close. Like, yeah, maybe you leave $5,000 on our table, but like, it's a guaranteed thing. Like, I'd rather have a sure thing than roll the dice on $5,000, because I'll tell you right now, you go into best and final, you take the highest offer, deal dies, and you got to go back on the market, you're going to lose a lot more than $5,000. You probably lose $20,000, because everybody's going to ask what happened. They're going to think it's inspection issues, blah, 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 and then you're in a pickle. How do you coach sellers on which offer to choose when there is multiple? I look at everything, and I grill the other agents. There's a lot of agents that just send over their offers to us. There's no call, there's no text, there's no email. It's just, I get I magically find it, I refresh my email, there's an offer in my inbox. I call that agent up, they don't answer, okay? They go right to voicemail, like that automatic text, can I call you later? And then I never hear from them. And then I have 3 other offers where the agents are breathing down my neck, okay? Calling me constantly, updating me on who their client is, etc. Out of those 4, I think anybody out there that's got common sense is going to know, well, that one is definitely someone we want to work with. Because if I can't even get a hold of them and they're not even going to present the offer and we're in multiple bids, they're probably going to be the most difficult one to deal with. And those are the type of things I look at when we talk about like intangibles, about what's the best one to choose during a multiple bid. How much does a long market time hurt sellers? The last few years, it hasn't. Moving forward, it will. So if your property's in the market for 200 plus days, you're going to take less price. How soon do you recommend doing a price drop? Within 21 days. 21 days on the market, within 3 weeks, we know exactly where we stand. It could be sooner. If we're on the market 14 days and we've had 30 showings and somebody says we're batshit crazy on price, then yeah, I'm going to say we should probably drop the price. What do you recommend if you can't seem to sell your place? Rent it, renovate it, drop the price. Again, it's all relative, but I mean, those are usually your 3 best answers. Do a lot of sellers switch realtors throughout the process? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, a lot of people want a fresh attitude. A lot of people may like you better than the person they're going to hire, but they just decided that, like, they just need fresh energy on it. Somebody that's different. Sometimes people think that's going to make a difference. And listen, I've been fired a ton. I feel like I've had a great relationship with some sellers who've let us go. I've also been hired a bunch by people who I know like their old realtor more than us, but think we're going to do a better job. So it is what it is. People are going to switch realtors throughout the process. People can't get salty about it. It is what it is. How often do you market your listings online? Every time. I don't even know why you would not market your property online. It's 2022. Do you reach out to other agents about your listings? Absolutely. We e-blast other brokers. We call other brokers. I text other brokers. We do everything we can to try to get our listings in front of as many people's faces as possible. What's the best advice you have for selling your home in 2022? Get it on the market early. I'm telling you right now, the first 2 quarters are going to be the best quarters. The market is going to shift by June, and after July 4th, we're going to be balanced market in all aspects of the marketplace. So if you're thinking about listing, get it on Q1, latest beginning of Q2, and that way you're going to get the most money for your property. Because don't say in March, or don't list in August and say that you want the same price as those people who got in March who sold right away, because you missed the boat. Get it on the market quick. That's the best advice we got for you guys for getting your listing going in 2022. Thanks for listening, guys. Make sure that you hit the bell, subscribe to these so you get notified every time we have a release. And thanks for listening to Laricy Live.